Somatic covert narcissist, erotic simulation, regulatory collapse, and structural handover. Selection is simulation, contact is calibration. The somatic covert narcissist initiates engagement not just through desire, but through cognitive scanning. Cold empathy is deployed to identify symbolic weaknesses, psychic needs, unprocessed maternal longing. The survivor is chosen not as partner, but as a functional regulator. They are structurally compatible, not emotionally relevant. Initial contact feels fused, responsive, erotic, but it is not. It is entrainment. Erotic simulation as bait. The survivor misrecognizes simulation for synchronicity. The narcissist mirrors internal desire with uncanny specificity, tone, phrasing, sexual tempo, emotional pitch. What is seen is not the narcissist, but the survivor reflected back in fantasy. This is not bonding, it is installation. Sex is central, but not intimate. It is introduced early, with intensity. The narcissist performs attuned desire, touch calibrated to arouse, validate, and draw in. But the mirroring is non authentic. Preferences are noted only to build compliance. Sexual novelty, dominance, or intensity is presented as compatibility, but the survivor is not engaged with. They are performed upon. The narcissist does not negotiate, they regulate. What seems mutual is entirely one sided. From sexual fusion to somatic regulation, the sexual act evolves into a mechanism of control and validation. The narcissist's libido is not a bridge, it is a loop. They are autoerotic, exhibitionistic, and disinhibited. Their history of promiscuity, risk taking, and dominance is not absent, it is revealed. Roughness is reframed as passion, pain becomes symbolic reinforcement. The survivor is no longer mirrored, they are consumed. The narcissist does not read the other's discomfort, they study it. Affective withdrawal begins as the body remains physically engaged. This paradox initiates the survivor's disorientation. What was first seductive becomes brutal, emotionally and somatically. The survivor begins to disappear. Internally, the narcissist has already withdrawn. Sex continues during devaluation, not out of longing, but as proof of control. It affirms the narcissist's ability to regulate the other despite withdrawal. Emotional distance coexists with physical engagement. This is not contradiction, it is symbolic separation. Survivors' protests, subtle or overt, are logged. Discomfort becomes ammunition. Resistance signals collapse. The narcissist begins to reassess not the relationship, but the functionality of the survivor as a regulator. The shared fantasy is degrading. The persecutory object handover. The survivor ceases to serve. The fantasy can no longer be maintained. The narcissist initiates the handover not of the self, but of the internal bad object. The survivor is now seen as a persecutory maternal fragment that must be expelled. They are no longer a mirror, they are a threat. This is projected through passive aggression, cold silence, triangulation, or strategic cruelty. The survivor receives not rejection, but symbolic replacement. They are no longer seen, they are re-scripted. The gaze is gone, the function is failed. Collapse initiation in the survivor. This moment marks the structural fracture. Under EMPID, this is entry into collapsed induced psychotic regression, CIPR. The survivor, still entrained, attempts to reattune. Their actions are increasingly symbolic, protest disguised as pleas, resistance masked as hope. But the system is sealed. The narcissist no longer requires regulation from the initial object. A new source is often already in place. The survivor's collapse deepens, not due to abandonment, but due to symbolic erasure. They now carry the installed bad object, accepted unconsciously through repeated inversions. From erotic bond to orbital collapse. The survivor begins the internal descent. The body remembers intensity. The mind remembers confusion. The gaze is gone. The sexual contact, which once felt fusing, now echoes as violation. The narcissist is not punishing, they are absenting. Sex was never connection, it was consumption. The final acts of physicality were not closeness, they were ritualized disconnection. The survivor now lives with the residue, disorientated arousal, shame, and object confusion. The final phase is not heartbreak, it is structural loss. The survivor carries the structure. This was not a relationship, it was an inversion event. Empit asserts that the survivor becomes inhabited, not just with memories, but with functional introjects. The narcissist's absence is filled by their logic. The survivor's reality is shaped by a system they did not create, but were forced to replicate internally. What began with simulated desire ends with symbolic annihilation. This is not about closure, this is about collapse.